So dear students, today we are going to discuss about the gluteal muscles or muscles of the gluteal region. So before going to the muscles of the gluteal region, first we should know what is that gluteal region. See, this area, the posterior aspect of the hip joint, this area, this is the gluteal region. And the muscles in here in this area are known as gluteal muscles. Okay, around 10 muscles are seen in this gluteal region. Okay, what are the 10 muscles? We'll see that. See, gluteus maximus, the largest muscle in this gluteal region, that known as a gluteus maximus. Then gluteus medius, gluteus minimus. Then another muscle, piriformis. It is known as the key muscle of this gluteal region. See, this is the piriformis, which divides the nerves and vessels of this region into two categories. One is superior gluteal, and the other one is inferior gluteal. Okay, because of that reason, it is known as the key muscle of this gluteal region. Then two gemellae muscles, superior gemellus and inferior gemellus. Then two obturator muscles, obturator internus and obturator externus. Then one quadrangular shaped quadratus femoris. Then the last one is the tensor of the fascia lata. It is known as tensor fascia lata. So these are the 10 muscles of this gluteal region. Okay, now we'll see the details of these muscles. First one is a gluteus maximus. Okay, gluteus maximus. It is arising from the outer surface of the ilium posterior to the posterior gluteal line. Outer surface or external surface of the ilium posterior to the posterior gluteal line. Then posterior surface of the sacrum. Then coccyx and posterior surface of coccyx and a sacrotuberous ligament. We'll check this. See, in this image, this is the outer or external surface of the ilium. Okay. See here on the external surface of the ilium, there we can see three ridges. One is this white colored area. This one is a posterior gluteal line, and this one another ridge, anterior gluteal line, and here comes a inferior gluteal line. So these three gluteal lines divides this external surface into four areas. Okay, posterior, middle, then anterior and inferior. Okay, so anyway, this one is a posterior gluteal line. This one is a anterior gluteal line, and here comes the inferior gluteal line. Three gluteal lines are there. So what I told about the origin of the gluteus maximus, it is arising from the external surface of the ilium posterior to the posterior gluteal line. It means this is the posterior gluteal line. Posterior to that means this colored area. Okay, so that point is clear. It is arising from the external surface of the ilium. Which part of the external surface? Posterior to the posterior gluteal line. Okay. Now, posterior surface of the sacrum and the coccyx. Here we can see the posterior surface of the sacrum, and this is the posterior surface of the coccyx. So some fibers are arising from this area, some fibers are arising from this posterior surface of the sacrum, some other fibers are arising from this coccyx. Then from this sacrum to the ischial tuberosity, we can see a ligament, sacrotuberous ligament. Okay, from the sacrum to the tuberosity, that's why it's known as sacrotuberous ligament. And some of the fibers are arising from the sacrotuberous ligament. So it means this gluteus maximus muscle is arising from this area. Okay, from here, these fibers runs downward and laterally like this, and inserted to this gluteal tuberosity here in the posterior surface of the femur. There we are having the gluteal tuberosity. I already told you along to the femur. So anyway, here this area, this is a gluteal tuberosity. Okay, so from here it runs downward and inserted to the gluteal tuberosity like this cursor. Okay, now see this. See this one. This is the gluteus maximus muscle. Okay, so origin from the ilium, sacrum, coccyx, and sacrotuberous ligament inserted to the gluteal tuberosity. Not only to the gluteal tuberosity, some fibers are arising, some fibers are inserted to this band that is extending from this ilium to the tibia. That's why this band is known as iliotibial tract. Iliotibial tract. So some fibers are inserting to this iliotibial tract. Clear? So it is inserted to iliotibial tract and gluteal tuberosity. Okay. So origin and insertions are clear, and it is supplied by the inferior gluteal nerve. What will be the action? It is a powerful extensor of the hip joint. What is the extension? See, now we are having the flexed hip joint or flexed thigh. Okay. backward movement, that is what the extension. See this flexed leg or flexed hip joint, when it moves backward, that movement is known as what? Extension. Okay, so these are represents the direction of movement in extension. Okay, so this is what the flexed hip joint, and when it goes to the normal position, it is known as what? The extension. Okay, so that backward movement of the hip joint, it is a extension. So this gluteus maximus, it is a powerful extensor. Now gluteus medius. Gluteus medius, it is arising from the external surface. External ilium means external surface of the ilium between the anterior and posterior gluteal lines. We'll check it. See, here comes a posterior gluteal line. This is the anterior gluteal line. So between those two lines, this colored area. See, from here, this fibers runs downward and inserted to this greater trochanter. Okay, see this image. From that area, this fibers runs downward and inserted to greater trochanter. Okay, that is, see, insertion to the greater trochanter of the femur. Origin from the external surface of the ilium between the anterior and posterior gluteal lines, inserted to the greater trochanter. It is supplied by superior gluteal nerve. Okay, here the thing is, gluteus medius and minimus both are supplied by the superior gluteal nerve, and these are the abductors of the hip joint. Not only the abductors, it some fibers helps in medial rotation. So what is that abduction? We'll see that. See, this is this movement. See now, the left, this one is a left lower limb. Now the left limb is abducted. Movement away from the midline, that is what the abduction. See, here comes the midline. So if you are moving the leg away from the midline, that one is known as the abduction. Okay, now we are having the abducted hip joint or abducted thigh. Okay, so this gluteus medius and minimus helps in abduction, and the opposite movement, that is what the flexion to the normal position. Okay, this movement, sorry, not flexion, adduction. That one is a adduction. So this muscle, gluteus medius and minimus, helps in abduction. Okay, so it is a powerful abductor, and some fibers helps in medial rotation. Now gluteus minimus. Gluteus minimus arising from external surface of the ilium between the anterior and inferior gluteal line. So between the anterior and the inferior gluteal line. See this area, gluteus minimus. From there, like this gluteus medius, this fibers also runs downward and insert to the greater trochanter. Okay, greater trochanter, insertion to the greater trochanter. We'll check it. See this one. Gluteus minimus. So gluteus maximus, gluteus medius, gluteus minimus. Now supplied by the inferior gluteal nerve, sorry, superior gluteal nerve. Actions the same action. Okay, abduction and medial rotation. Okay, tensor fascial that is wrong. We will discuss it later. So these three muscles are clear: gluteus maximus, gluteus medius, and gluteus minimus. Now we are moving to discuss about the piriformis muscle. Piriformis muscle, which is arising from the anterior surface of the sacrum and inserted to greater trochanter. See how? So this is what the anterior surface of the sacrum, anterior view of the sacrum or anterior surface of the sacrum. So this colored area is arising from this anterior surface of the sacrum. From there it runs laterally through this notch, greater sciatic notch. So it runs laterally through the greater sciatic notch and comes out. See like this. See here, this is a greater sciatic notch. So this is a sacrum. This is the posterior surface of the sacrum. So this muscle is not arising from the posterior surface. It is arising from the anterior surface. Okay. From there it runs laterally through the greater sciatic notch and reaches the apex of the greater trochanter. So that is also clear. Anterior surface of the sacrum inserted to the apex of the greater trochanter. It is supplied by the anterior ramus of S1. Okay, S1 means so first cervical nerve, not cervical, sacral nerve, sacral region. Okay, so then all these muscles helps in lateral rotation of the hip joint. So piriformis, its action is a lateral rotation. Okay, now gemelli muscles. See, I told you we are having two gemellus muscle, superior gemellus and inferior gemellus. Superior gemellus arising from the ischial spine, and the inferior gemellus is arising from ischial tuberosity. Yes. See here in this image, we can see both. See, we can see one elevation here. This is what the ischial spine. Below that, this roughened area, this is what the ischial tuberosity. So superior gemellus is arising from this ischial spine. From there, this greater trochanter. Inferior gemellus is arising from this ischial tuberosity. From there, greater trochanter. Okay, we'll check it. See, gemellus superior arising from this ischial spine inserted to the greater trochanter. Then inferior gemellus. So superior gemellus from the ischial spine to the greater trochanter. Inferior gemellae muscle from this ischial tuberosity, upper part of the ischial tuberosity. From there, greater trochanter. So gemellae muscle, superior gemellus from the ischial spine, inferior gemellus from the ischial tuberosity, both inserted to the greater trochanter. Okay, then now supply. Superior gemellus is supplied by obturator internus muscle. Inferior gemellus is supplied by now to quadratus femoris. Okay, now this one superior gemellus is by now to obturator internus. Obturator internus is a muscle, so now to obturator internus. Inferior gemellus is supplied by now to quadratus femoris. Okay, so two nows. Okay, what will be the action? Same action, lateral rotation. It all these muscles helps in lateral rotation. Now, obturator internus muscle. Obturator internus muscle is arising from pelvic surface of the ilium, ischium, and obturator membrane. See here, this is what the obturator foramen. This obturator foramen is closed by a membrane known as the obturator membrane. So the muscle which is arising from the inner surface of that obturator membrane, it is known as obturator internus, and the outer surface of that membrane is known as what? Obturator externus. Okay, now here, this membrane, this is what the obturator membrane. If the muscle is arising from the outer surface, it is known as obturator externus, and the inner surface, it is known as what? Obturator internus. So not only from the membrane, adjacent bones. Just a minute. So obturator internus muscle. Okay, obturator internus, it is arising from obturator inner surface of the obturator membrane and adjacent bones. That muscle is inserting to the greater trochanter. Okay, supplied by nerve to obturator internus. What will be the action that helps in lateral rotation? We'll see that muscle. See this muscle, which is arising from the obturator membrane and inserted to this greater trochanter. This one is a obturator internus muscle. Okay,